Commander Alex Mitchell stared at the massive derelict ship floating in the darkness of unexplored space. He had seen many strange things during his years with the Earth Alliance, but nothing like this. The vessel was enormous, at least 3 times the size of their own exploration ship, the Horizon. "What do we know about it?" he asked, not taking his eyes off the view screen. Olivia Barnes, his science officer, checked her readings. "It's old, sir. Really old. Initial scans suggest it's been here for at least 50,000 years. The technology appears far beyond our current understanding." Mitchell nodded. This wasn't the first ancient alien artifact humanity had discovered since joining the galactic community 50 years ago. But something about this one felt different. "Any signs of who built it?" he asked. Barnes frowned at her console. "That's the strange part, sir. I'm picking up traces of... Well, this can't be right." She ran the scan again. "Commander, I'm detecting human DNA markers." Mitchell turned to face her. "Human? That's impossible. Humans weren't in space 50,000 years ago." "The evidence suggests otherwise, sir." Barnes pulled up the scan results on the main screen. "These are definitely human genetic markers. And there's something else. The ship's external markings. They match no known alien language, but they have similarities to ancient Earth writing systems." Mitchell studied the symbols displayed on the screen. They did look vaguely familiar, like something he'd seen in history books. "Send a team to explore the vessel," he ordered. "Full hazard protocols. I want to know what we're dealing with." Hours later, Mitchell led a small team through the airless corridors of the ancient ship. Their flashlights cut through darkness untouched for millennia. The interior architecture was strange. Not quite human in design, but not completely alien either. "Look at this," called Sam Wilson, the team's engineer. He pointed to a control panel with his light. "This interface, it's designed for human hands." Mitchell examined the panel. Wilson was right. The controls were perfectly sized for human fingers. Not too large, not too small. Barnes approached with her scanner. "Commander, I'm picking up more. This entire section contains language fragments that match ancient Earth dialects. Some words are recognizable." Mitchell felt a chill run down his spine. How is this possible? His communicator beeped. "Commander, this is the Horizon. We've detected additional vessels, at least 20 more of varying sizes. It appears to be an entire fleet." When the team returned to the Horizon, Mitchell immediately sent their findings to Earth Alliance headquarters. The response was swift. They were ordered to return home for a full debriefing. 2 weeks later, Mitchell stood before the Galactic Council, presenting his team's discoveries. Representatives from 30 alien species listened to his report, but their reactions weren't what he had expected. "Preposterous," declared the Vraxian delegate, his scales shifting to a mocking shade of blue. "Humans were primitive cave dwellers 50,000 years ago. They barely had fire, let alone space travel." The Tellurian representative nodded her feathered head. "Commander Mitchell's enthusiasm is admirable, but his conclusions are flawed. These vessels were clearly built by a long-extinct species. The human DNA traces are contamination from your exploration team." "The language similarities are coincidental," added the Moxian ambassador. "Pattern-seeking creatures often find meaning where none exists." Mitchell felt his face grow hot. "The evidence is clear. These ships were designed for human use." Barnes stepped forward. "Our analysis confirms it. The genetic markers are too specific to be coincidence." The council chamber filled with the sounds of dismissive laughter. "Humans," chuckled the Vraxian, "always desperate to seem more important than they are." Despite the ridicule, Mitchell secured minimal funding for a small research expedition. As he left the chamber, Admiral Lauren Reed pulled him aside. "They're wrong, Alex," she whispered. "I believe you. Find out what happened. Find out who built that fleet." Mitchell nodded firmly. "I intend to, Admiral. Whatever it takes." The research vessel Horizon approached the ancient fleet once more, now carrying a specialized team assembled by Commander Mitchell. 6 months had passed since their initial discovery, 6 months of fighting skepticism and bureaucracy. Mitchell watched through the view screen as they neared the largest ship, which they had nicknamed Pioneer. Still no energy signatures, reported Olivia Barnes from her science station. These ships have been dormant for millennia. Mitchell nodded. Take us in closer. Daniel, prepare the boarding team. Chief Engineer Daniel Wright checked his equipment one final time. The 35-year-old had been handpicked by Mitchell for his expertise in ancient technology. Ready when you are, Commander. Hours later, the team made their way through the massive vessel, their specialized scanning equipment revealing details they had missed on their first visit. These conduits, Wright said, running his hand along a dusty wall panel. They remind me of theoretical designs from Earth's pre-space era. Look at the arrangement. It's similar to old fusion research papers from the 21st century. Barnes nodded, recording everything. If humans did build this, they were far more advanced than our history suggests. Over here, called Security Officer Lisa Rodriguez. She stood before a sealed doorway, her scanner showing unusual readings. I think this might be a command center. Wright examined the door mechanism. I can get this open. He connected his tools to what appeared to be an access port. After several minutes of work, the ancient door slid open with a surprising smoothness. The room beyond was dark and cold. As their lights swept across the space, they revealed what was clearly a bridge or control center. Dead consoles lined the walls, and at the center stood a raised platform with a chair. It's designed for a human, Mitchell said quietly. These controls, the dimensions, they're made for human hands and human proportions. A sudden alert from Rodriguez's scanner broke the moment. Commander, I'm detecting an energy signature. Something's approaching the fleet. Mitchell tapped his communicator. Horizon, status report. Sir, 3 vessels just dropped out of FTL near your position. Design matches Vraxian Imperial ships. They're hailing us. Mitchell frowned. Put them through. The face that appeared on his portable communicator belonged to Commander Zex of the Vraxian Empire, his reptilian features twisted in what passed for a smile among his kind. Commander Mitchell, how disappointing to find humans pawing through these relics. These ships are in neutral space. Commander Zex, Mitchell replied evenly. We have every right to be here. Zex's scales rippled with amusement. The Vraxian Empire has claimed this sector and all artifacts within it. You will remove yourselves immediately. Under what authority? Mitchell demanded. Under the authority of superior firepower, Zex replied. You have 1 hour to depart. The connection cut. Mitchell turned to his team. We need to gather as much data as possible before we're forced to leave. Wright was already working at one of the consoles. Sir, I found something. This power system. It's almost identical to theoretical designs from Earth's history. Designs that were abandoned because we lacked the materials to build them. Download everything you can, Mitchell ordered. Rodriguez moved from console to console, copying data. Commander, these systems are starting to respond to our presence. It's almost like they recognize us. Before Mitchell could respond, the ship shuddered. Horizon to landing party. The Vraxians are powering weapons. You need to evacuate now. Time's up, Mitchell said grimly. Everyone back to the shuttle. As they rushed through the ancient corridors, Rodriguez fell behind, her attention caught by a terminal that had suddenly activated. Lisa, come on, Barnes called. 1 second. Rodriguez quickly connected her data device. These look like schematics. I'm downloading what I can. The ship shuddered again as the Vraxians fired a warning shot. The team barely made it to their shuttle before the Vraxian vessels surrounded the ancient fleet. As they returned to the horizon under Vraxian escort, Zex's voice came through the comm system once more. Remember this, humans. Your pathetic attempts to claim connection to these magnificent vessels is an insult to their true creators. Your species was still discovering fire when these ships sailed the stars. Mitchell watched silently as they were forced away from the fleet, but the data they had gathered might hold the answers they sought, and proof of a human legacy the galaxy had forgotten. Back on Earth, the research team gathered in a secure room at Alliance headquarters. The walls were lined with screens displaying data recovered from the ancient fleet. Lisa Rodriguez stood before her colleagues, explaining what she had discovered. "The schematics I downloaded contain embedded code sequences," she said, pointing to strings of symbols on the main display. "At first, I thought they were just technical specifications, but Daniel noticed something unusual." Daniel Wright nodded and stepped forward. "These aren't random codes. They're activation sequences, and they follow pattern structures identical to Earth military protocols from the 22nd century. Commander Mitchell leaned forward in his chair. "That's still thousands of years after these ships were supposedly built." "Unless," Wright said, tapping his tablet to change the display, "our understanding of human history is incomplete." The door opened, and a short, bearded man entered the room. Mitchell recognized him as John Garcia, a leading researcher in pre-space human history. "Dr. Garcia, thank you for coming," Mitchell said, standing to greet him. Garcia nodded. "When I heard what you found, I had to see for myself." He approached the screens, eyes wide with excitement. "This could change everything we know about human development." For the next several hours, Garcia examined the data. The teen watched as his initial skepticism gave way to growing amazement. "I've spent my career studying Earth's ancient civilizations," Garcia finally said. "There have always been gaps in our historical record, missing periods, unexplained technological leaps." He pointed to a series of symbols. "These match inscriptions found in underwater ruins off the coast of what was once Japan. Ruins dated to approximately 48,000 years ago." "What are you saying?" Barnes asked. Garcia turned to face them. "I'm saying that humans may have achieved spaceflight far earlier than we believed. There are legends in many ancient cultures about a time when humans touched the stars, followed by a great fall." "A lost colony fleet," Mitchell said quietly. "Exactly," Garcia replied. "A fleet that left Earth during some catastrophic event, perhaps intending to return when it was safe." Wright pulled up another display. "The power systems I examined used principles we only theorized about centuries ago. But according to these schematics, humans mastered these technologies millennia ago." "But why don't we remember?" Rodriguez asked. "How could we forget something so important?" Garcia shook his head. "Major civilizational collapses can erase knowledge completely. The survivors start over, and within a few generations, the past becomes myth, then legend, then forgotten entirely." Barnes had been quiet, analyzing genetic data from the ship. Now she looked up. "I've been comparing the DNA traces we found with our genetic database. The markers aren't just human. They match specific lineages still present in modern populations. These ships were built by our direct ancestors." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "We need to get back to that fleet," Mitchell said finally. "If what we're suggesting is true, those ships are humanity's legacy, not some alien civilization's cast-offs. The Vraxians won't let us near it," Rodriguez reminded him. "And the Galactic Council still doesn't believe our claims," added Barnes. Garcia studied the data one more time. "We need irrefutable proof, something the Council can't ignore." Wright snapped his fingers. "The AI core. When we were exploring the command center, my scans detected what might be a central artificial intelligence core. If we could recover it and reactivate it, it could tell us who built the fleet," Mitchell finished. "And prove our connection to it," Garcia added. Mitchell stood up. "I'll request another mission. With this new evidence, Admiral Reed might be able to approve it." "We should hurry," Barnes said, pointing to a news feed on a side screen. It showed Vraxian ships surrounding the ancient fleet. "The Vraxians are already studying the technology. Who knows what they'll do with it?" Mitchell nodded grimly. "If humans truly built those ships, we need to reclaim them before the Vraxians unlock their secrets. The fate of Earth could depend on it. Captain Mitchell paced the briefing room, watching the intelligence footage with growing concern. The images showed Vraxian technicians moving freely throughout the ancient fleet, removing components and transferring them to their own vessels. "They've been at it for 3 weeks now," said Kelly Foster, the Earth Alliance intelligence officer who had just returned from an undercover operation. "They're stripping the ships of anything they can understand and transporting it back to Vraxian research facilities." Foster was new to Mitchell's team, a specialist in alien psychology and technology assessment. Her shoulder-length blonde hair was now dyed black, part of her disguise while infiltrating a Vraxian supply station. "What have they managed to access?" Barnes asked. Foster displayed a series of images on the main screen, mostly weapon systems and engine components. The Vraxians are struggling with the central computer systems, but they've made progress with the defensive technology. Wright shook his head. "If they figure out how to replicate that tech, they'll have a military advantage over half the galaxy." "It gets worse," Foster continued. "I accessed their secure communications. The Vraxian High Command isn't just studying this technology. They're planning to use it." She pulled up a recorded message. "This is from Fleet Admiral Drax to the Vraxian Emperor." The reptilian face of Admiral Drax filled the screen. "Your Majesty, the ancient fleet has proven to be everything we hoped. With these weapons, we can finally launch our expansion campaign. The Earth Alliance will be our first target, a fitting punishment for the humans who dared to claim our divine inheritance as their own." Mitchell's expression darkened. "They're planning an attack. And they're using our own ancestral technology to do it," Barnes added. The briefing room door slid open, and Admiral Lauren Reed entered. Her normally composed face showed signs of strain. "Commander, I've just come from an emergency council session," she said. "The Moxians and Tellurians are taking our claims more seriously now. They've been monitoring Vraxian activity and don't like what they're seeing." "Do they believe us about the fleet's human origins?" Mitchell asked. Reed sighed. "They're less dismissive than before. The Vraxian aggression has made some council members nervous. They're willing to support a mission to gather more evidence." "We need to reach the AI core," Wright said. "If we can activate it, we might be able to prove our connection to the fleet." Reed nodded. "You have authorization for one more expedition. But be warned, this is a covered operation. We can't openly challenge the Vraxians without council approval." "When do we leave?" Barnes asked. "Immediately," Mitchell replied. "We'll take a stealth scout ship, small crew, minimal equipment." 3 days later, Mitchell's team approached the ancient fleet in a scout vessel designed to evade detection. The massive collection of ships was now surrounded by a Vraxian military perimeter. "Their security is tight," Foster observed from the tactical station. "But there's a gap in their sensor coverage near the smallest vessels. We can slip through there." The scout ship glided silently through space, using the ancient derelicts as cover. As they approached the flagship, they saw Vraxian vessels docked at various points. There, Wright pointed to a section of the massive ship that appeared untouched. "That area is close to where we detected the AI core, and it doesn't look like the Vraxians have breached it yet." Mitchell made his decision. "We'll dock there and proceed on foot. Rodriguez, Wright, Barnes, and Foster with me. Garcia will monitor from here." As they prepared to board, their communication system detected an open Vraxian channel. The voice that came through sent a chill down Mitchell's spine. "All units, this is Commander Zex. The human DNA samples have yielded results. Initial tests confirm the ancient texts were correct. These vessels respond to genetic markers. Continue harvesting any biological material you find, and begin preparations for the assimilation process. Soon, we will claim our rightful place as heirs to the fleet's power." Mitchell looked at his team. "We need to hurry. If the Vraxians discover how to fully activate these ships, Earth won't stand a chance," Barnes finished quietly. The airlock cycled open, and they entered the ancient vessel, racing against time to reach the secrets at its heart. The team moved silently through the dark corridors of the ancient flagship. Their helmet lights cast long shadows on walls untouched for millennia. Unlike their previous visit, they now noticed subtle changes in the environment. Some systems appeared to be drawing minimal power. "The Vraxians have jump-started portions of the power grid," Wright whispered, checking his scanner. "But most of the ship is still dormant." Foster took point, her military training evident in the way she moved. "Vraxian patrol ahead. 3 soldiers." She gestured for them to take cover in a recessed doorway. They pressed themselves against the wall as 3 Vraxian guards passed by, discussing their assignments in their clicking language. They said something about a central chamber. Foster translated once they were gone. "They've found a sealed room they can't access." Mitchell nodded. "That has to be where the AI core is located. Lead the way." They followed the path the Vraxians had taken, moving deeper into the vessel. After 20 minutes of careful progress, they reached a massive sealed doorway. Vraxian cutting tools lay abandoned nearby. "They've been trying to force their way in," Barnes observed, examining the door. "But the material resisted their efforts." Wright ran his scanner over the entrance. "This isn't just a door. It's a biometric security system." He pointed to a small panel beside the doorway, covered in dust. "I think this is a hand scanner." Mitchell studied it. If this ship was built by humans, then human DNA might be the key, Barnes finished. Mitchell removed his glove and placed his palm against the ancient panel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a soft blue light began to glow beneath his hand. The massive door shuddered and slowly began to slide open. "It recognized you," Rodriguez whispered in awe. The room beyond was vast and circular. At its center stood a pillar of what looked like crystal, rising from floor to ceiling. As they entered, soft lights began to activate around the perimeter. "The AI core," Wright breathed, approaching the crystal pillar. "It's beautiful." Barnes scanned the structure. "It's powering up in response to our presence. The system recognizes us as authorized users." Mitchell moved to what appeared to be a control console. As he approached, it illuminated. Symbols appeared on its surface, symbols that were strikingly similar to ancient Earth writing. "This confirms it," Garcia said through their comms. "Those are Proto-Sumerian glyphs, human writing from Earth's earliest civilizations." Mitchell hesitantly touched the console. In response, the crystal pillar pulsed with bright blue light. A holographic projection appeared in the center of the room, a 3-dimensional star map. "It's showing us Earth," Barnes said, pointing to a familiar solar system. "And these pathways must be the original fleet's journey." The hologram shifted, displaying a new image, a human figure in an ancient uniform. "Greetings, descendants," the figure spoke in a language none of them understood, yet somehow felt familiar. The ship's systems began translating. "If you are receiving this message, you have found your way back to the legacy fleet. We built these vessels to preserve what remained of human civilization after the Great Calamity." "My God," Mitchell whispered. "It's a message from our ancestors." The hologram continued. "We were forced to leave Earth when the meteor strike triggered global catastrophe. We saved as many as we could, but knew that some would remain behind. To those who survived on Earth, we left markers and knowledge to help rebuild. We hoped that one day our descendants would reach the stars again and find us." The message continued, but was suddenly interrupted by a blaring alarm. Red lights flashed throughout the chamber. "We've been detected," Foster warned, checking her tactical display. "Vraxian security forces are converging on our position." At that moment, the entire ship shuddered. The console Mitchell had touched was now fully activated, and the crystal pillar glowed with increasing intensity. "What's happening?" Rodriguez asked. Wright checked his scanner. "The AI is fully awakening. And it's not just this ship. The entire fleet is coming online." A hologram flickered in change, showing what appeared to be a battle display. Defense protocols activated. Unauthorized entities detected. The ship is responding to the Vraxian presence, Barnes realized. It sees them as intruders. Another explosion rocked the vessel as Vraxian weapons fired on the hull. The ancient ship hummed to life around them. Lights flickered on in previously dark corridors, and dormant systems awakened after 50 millennia of silence. Mitchell felt the deck vibrate beneath his feet as massive engines stirred. "The ship's responding to your command," Wright said, his eyes wide with amazement. He studied the console readings. Power levels are rising throughout the fleet. They're all coming online. Foster monitored her tactical display. "Commander, the Vraxian security forces are still approaching. 6 minutes until they reach our position." Mitchell turned to the holographic interface. "Show me ship controls." The display shifted immediately, presenting a simplified command system. "It's responding to English. The translation protocols are adapting to our modern language." Barnes worked at another console. "I'm accessing the ship's defensive capabilities. The weapons systems are unlike anything I've seen, but the basic principles are familiar." A massive explosion shook the chamber. "The Vraxians are bombing the outer hull," Rodriguez reported. "They're trying to prevent the ship from fully activating." Mitchell studied the controls. With a few experimental touches, he managed to bring up an external view. Dozens of Vraxian vessels now surrounded the ancient fleet, firing at the flagship. "They realize what's happening," Foster said. "They know if we gain control of this fleet, their advantage is gone." Wright pointed to an alert on his console. "Commander, we have an incoming transmission. It's from Earth Alliance." Mitchell activated the communication system. Admiral Reed's face appeared on the display. "Mitchell, can you hear me? We've detected massive energy surges from the fleet. What's happening out there?" "The ships are activating, Admiral," Mitchell replied. "They recognize human DNA and respond to human commands. We were right. They were built by our ancestors." Reed's expression showed both relief and concern. "We've dispatched a battle group to your location, led by Admiral Paul Carter. But they're still 6 hours out. Can you hold until then?" Another explosion rocked the ship. "We'll try," Mitchell said grimly. "But the Vraxians are determined to stop us." The communication ended as the ship's systems diverted power to shields. Mitchell returned to the main control console. "Right, figure out how to move this vessel. Barnes, keep working on weapons. Foster and Rodriguez, see if you can access the ship's database. We need to know exactly what capabilities we have." As his team rushed to comply, Mitchell studied the fleet status displayed before him. Over 30 ancient vessels were now in various stages of activation. Some were smaller, likely support ships, while others were massive capital ships. "Commander," Barnes called out, "I've accessed the defensive grid. The ship has energy shields far beyond our current technology. They're already repelling the Vraxian attacks." Wright looked up from his station. "The propulsion system is similar to our ion drives, but vastly more efficient. I can get us moving, but I'm not sure about actual combat maneuvers yet." The ship shuddered again, but less violently this time. The shields were holding. Mitchell made his decision. "Move us away from the Vraxian vessels. Let's put some distance between us while we figure out these systems." The ancient flagship began to move, slowly at first, then with increasing speed. On the tactical display, Mitchell watched as the other ships in the fleet also began to shift position, following the flagship's lead. "They're networked," Wright realized. "The entire fleet operates as a single unit when needed." Foster looked up from her console. "Vraxian reinforcements are arriving. 3 battle cruisers just dropped out of FTL." The tactical display showed the Vraxian fleet organizing into attack formation. A communication alert sounded. "It's Commander Zex," Rodriguez reported. Mitchell nodded. "Put him through." Zex's reptilian face appeared on the main display, his scales darkened with rage. "Mitchell, return control of the fleet immediately. Those ships are claimed by the Vraxian Empire." "These ships were built by humans, Zex," Mitchell replied calmly. They respond to human commands because they were designed that way. They belong to Earth. Lies, Zex hissed. Your primitive species could never have created such technology. You've merely stumbled upon an activation method. The fleet is our divine right. The evidence says otherwise, Mitchell responded. Stand down your vessels. Zex's eyes narrowed. You have 1 minute to surrender control, or we will destroy you and everyone aboard. The communication ended. Mitchell turned to his team. I think we just ran out of time for learning on the job. Barnes, what weapons do we have available? Commander Mitchell stood at the heart of the ancient flagship as the battle unfolded around them. The massive view screen showed dozens of Vraxian warships arranged in attack formation, their weapons charged and ready. They're targeting our primary systems, Foster reported, watching the tactical display. Firing solution locked on our engines and command center. Mitchell nodded grimly. Barnes, are our defensive systems ready? As ready as they'll ever be, she replied. I figured out the basic targeting protocols, but I'm still learning what these weapons can do. The holographic interface pulsed, and another star map appeared. This time, it displayed what appeared to be the fleet's original mission parameters. Commander, Wright said, examining the data, I think I understand now. This fleet wasn't just an escape mission. It was designed to preserve everything our ancestors had built. Their knowledge, their technology, their legacy. A time capsule, Rodriguez suggested. More than that, Wright continued. It's an archive of humanity's greatest achievements. The ships contain databases of science, art, medicine, engineering, everything our ancestors wanted to preserve for future generations. Before Mitchell could respond, the first wave of Vraxian attack ships opened fire. Energy beams struck the ancient flagship, but instead of causing damage, they seemed to be absorbed by the hull. Shields are holding at full strength, Barnes reported with amazement. The energy weapons are being redirected into our power systems. Mitchell didn't hesitate. Return fire. Target their lead vessels. Barnes activated the weapon systems. Beams of brilliant blue energy lanced out from the ancient human vessel, striking 2 Vraxian cruisers. The enemy ship's shields failed instantly, and their engines went dark. Direct hit, Foster confirmed. Their power systems are completely disabled. On the tactical display, Mitchell could see the rest of the ancient fleet moving into defensive positions, protecting the flagship. Even though his team only controlled one vessel directly, the fleet's AI seemed to recognize the threat and was coordinating a response. Commander, Rodriguez called out, I'm receiving multiple transmissions from throughout the sector. Other species are watching this battle. The Tellurians, the Moxons, they've all sent observation vessels. The Vraxian fleet pressed its attack, launching a second wave of fighters. This time, the ancient fleet responded with a technology none of them had seen before. A ripple seemed to pass through space itself, and the Vraxian fighters suddenly slowed to a crawl, caught in some kind of temporal distortion field. Gravitational manipulation, Wright whispered. They're bending space-time itself. Commander Zex's face appeared on the communication screen again, his scales now pale with fury. What is this technology? How are you controlling it? Mitchell straightened his shoulders. These ships were built by humans, Zex. My ancestors. They left Earth during a catastrophe 50,000 years ago, hoping to preserve what they had built. The fleet recognizes us because we carry their genetic legacy. Impossible, Zex hissed. Your kind were primitives. Apparently not, Mitchell replied calmly. History isn't always what we believe it to be. Another series of impacts rocked the Vraxian flagship as the ancient fleet targeted it with precision strikes. Their main cruiser is disabled, Barnes reported. The rest of their fleet is falling back. A new communication alert sounded. Commander, Rodriguez said, it's Admiral Carter. Earth Alliance reinforcements have arrived earlier than expected. Admiral Carter's weathered face appeared on screen. Mitchell, we're picking up incredible energy readings from those ships. Is that really you controlling them? It is. Admiral, Mitchell confirmed. And I have proof now that these vessels were built by human hands. The fleet contains a complete record of an advanced human civilization that left Earth millennia ago.